Hello to all Cinemaster lovers. The movie starts with a kid and his mother walking in the rain. At this moment, Ichigo sees a girl standing alone by the river in the rain. Because of his kind heart, Ichigo runs toward the girl to give her the umbrella to protect herself from the rain that's drenching her. But as soon as Ichigo gets there, he finds the girl singing in a low voice. When he speaks to her, the girl turns around, and at that moment, Ichigo and his mother faint, as if they had seen eyes from hell. Years pass, and Ichigo grows up and is now in high school. At that time, he's beating up a few guys, pounding them just because they broke a vase for a child. The poor kids don't even know what they did to deserve the beating, and they don't see any child or anything at all. By that time, Ichigo had become very strong and skilled in fighting. He also gained the ability to see all the spirits around him ever since he saw the girl by the lake. Since then, he's been helping those spirits and standing by them if any humans try to harm them. After that, Ichigo makes the guys apologize to the boy they can't even see, who turns out to be a ghost. They apologize to him, and then they leave. Then Ichigo returns home and finds a strange girl in his room. He later learns that her name is Rukia, and she's a Soul Reaper. Rukia is surprised that Ichigo can sense her presence so easily and even see her. After they get to know each other a bit, Rukia senses an evil spirit nearby, close to Ichigo. They both rush downstairs to find his family, and they discover his little sister hiding under a table, terrified after hearing a frightening noise. Then, a massive and terrifying explosion occurs where they are, destroying the house. A large, powerful hand appears, grabs his little sister, and throws her far away from the house. Ichigo quickly gets up and runs after the creature to save his little sister. At that moment, he sees a massive monster in front of him. Ichigo attacks the monster with the stick he's holding, thinking it might hurt it, but the monster beats him with one powerful blow, sending him flying to the side. At that moment, Rukia arrives to help Ichigo and attacks the monster. Meanwhile, his little sister falls from a great height where the monster's hand was holding her, but Ichigo manages to run just in time and save her from the monster's hands. Here, Rukia tells Ichigo that the monster is an evil spirit named Hollow, and that Ichigo's ability to see spirits, which is unusually strong, is what attracted it. The monster attacks them again, and Rukia pushes Ichigo out of the way while the monster grabs her in its jaws. Rukia manages to beat the monster, but it inflicts a severe injury on her powerful arm. Despite her weakened state, the monster is also injured and thrown into the air. Then Ichigo runs to Rukia to check on her because of the Hollow's attack that weakened her. Ichigo asks her if there's a way to defeat the monster. Rukia tells him that there is a way, but he must become a Soul Reaper like her to stand a chance. She explains that she needs to stab him in the back with her sword to transform him into a Soul Reaper. At this point, the Hollow begins to recover from its injuries and starts getting back on its feet, while Rukia is unable to move. Ichigo agrees to Rukia's request, and she stabs him with her sword so he can transform and become a Soul Reaper. Ichigo then attacks the Hollow and manages to sever its hand with a single strike. The Hollow attacks again, but this time Ichigo is able to cut its entire body in half. The Hollow then disappears from the human world. The next day, Ichigo wakes up in shock, trying to remember what happened the previous night and thinking it might have been a dream. He finds his family watching the house, which has been significantly damaged. But they all have no memory of the events from that day and don't remember or know what happened. They're trying to come to terms with what has occurred. Then, Ichigo goes to school like usual, and is surprised to find that Rukia has become a student at the same school. As he's about to speak, Rukia quickly shuts him up and warns him, "If you say a single word, I'll kill you right here." Rukia then takes Ichigo up to the roof of the school building and tells him, "I can't return to the Soul Society because I accidentally gave you all my powers and became weak. Now, I need my powers back, or I won't be able to fight any more evil forces and will remain trapped here forever." At this point, Rukia takes out a red glove from her pocket, which is used by Soul Reapers to reclaim their powers. She runs towards Ichigo and strikes him hard in the chest, extracting his Soul Reaper persona. As a result, a second version of Ichigo emerges. Ichigo then asks Rukia about his original body lying unconscious on the ground, but she ignores his question. Instead, she takes the sword from his back and gives him, instructing him to stab her with it so she can regain her powers. Rukia takes the sword and stabs herself, but she doesn't regain her powers because her strength and energy are too low to restore them. She then laments her misfortune and becomes depressed. Rukia tells Ichigo that the only solution is for him to train and become stronger than her to restore her powers. Otherwise, his body and energy will remain too weak and cause him harm. However, Ichigo isn't concerned about this and finds her words irrelevant. He tells her that he just wants to return to his normal life and doesn't care about anything else. When Ichigo returns home after leaving Rukia and after greeting his family, he is surprised to find Rukia hiding inside his closet. He tells her to get out and asks, "What the fuck are you doing in my closet?" Rukia refuses to leave and tells Ichigo, "You must agree to train with me. I won't leave you alone again, and you have no choice but to train with me and become stronger than me, so I can regain my powers from you." At this moment, Ichigo's father opens the room door, causing Ichigo to panic and quickly close the closet on Rukia. His father notices that something is being hidden inside the closet and starts to suspect that there's a girl hiding in there. Ichigo's father forces open the closet, only to find it empty, with no one inside. He then scolds Ichigo, saying, "Don't let me catch you bringing girls home, you loser." Ichigo is left confused and bewildered, not knowing where Rukia has gone, and surprised by her sudden disappearance. The next day, Rukia starts training Ichigo against his will. Ichigo, being reluctant and uncooperative, Rukia throwing baseballs at him, hitting him all over his body. Then, Rukia gives Ichigo a stick shaped like a sword for them to spar with. However, Ichigo is too weak and unable to land even a single hit on her. He pretended to be a ninja with the kids earlier, but now, he's struggling with the training. They keep training together for a long time, but Ichigo remains weak and timid as usual. Despite Rukia's efforts to teach him martial arts, Ichigo struggles to learn and seems unable to grasp any of the techniques. During this time, a Soul Reaper named Renji and his captain, Byakuya, discover that Rukia's spiritual power has disappeared. This means she has given her spiritual power to someone else. The Soul Reaper captain then announces a search for Rukia to confirm what she has done, as their laws prohibit any Soul Reaper from transferring their spiritual power to someone else. If this occurs, the penalty is death for the person who committed the act. Later, as Ichigo returns home from school at night, he senses something strange and feels like someone is around him. At that moment, he demands the Soul Reaper who is nearby to reveal themselves. Renji, the Soul Reaper, is surprised that a human can see him. He then asks Ichigo to reveal Rukia's location. However, Ichigo pretends not to know anything about her. Sensing that she might be in trouble, Renji senses that Ichigo is lying and knows more about Rukia's location. He draws his sword and threatens Ichigo to reveal where Rukia is. However, just then, an arrow beats Renji, allowing Ichigo to escape easily. Ichigo returns home and tells Rukia everything that happened that day. Rukia responds by telling him to focus on training and ignore anything else, despite her own concern about the situation. She then locks herself in the closet, and Ichigo goes to bed. The next morning, while Ichigo is eating, a person named Uryu Ishida approaches him. Uryu knows all about Ichigo's involvement with Soul Reapers and is also aware of Rukia, the new girl at school, and her situation with regaining her spiritual powers. Ichigo then learns that Uryu Ishida is also a Soul Reaper. However, his clan was destroyed by an evil Soul Reaper, leaving only Uryu as the sole survivor. Spiritual power. Uryu demonstrates his ability to use a bow and arrow powered by his spiritual energy. Then, Uryu admits to Ichigo that he was the one who saved him from Renji the night before. He explains that Rukia sensed the presence of evil spirits near Ichigo and went to warn him. At that point, Ichigo had no choice but to confront the evil spirit because he had become a Soul Reaper. At that time, a huge spider-like monster is attacking a boy in the garden, intending to kill him. Ichigo arrives with his sword and attacks the spider. Meanwhile, Rukia quickly pulls the boy away to safety. Ichigo continues fighting the spider, but the monster is extremely fast and dodges all his attacks, making it difficult for Ichigo to defeat it. Despite his determination and bravery, he's struggling. Just as the spider is about to kill Ichigo, Renji arrives on the time, slices the spider's body in half from below, and the monster disappears. Renji was able to locate and sense the spider because he can detect evil spirits and pinpoint their location. After dealing with the spider, he quickly moves towards Ichigo and beats him with his sword before Ichigo can react or raise his own sword against him. Just as Renji is about to kill Ichigo with his sword, Rukia intervenes and pleads with him not to kill Ichigo. Renji is extremely surprised why a Soul Reaper would be cooperating with a human and be upset about the death of one. At that moment, Byakuya, the Soul Reaper captain and Rukia's older brother, appears. He demands that Rukia take her powers back from Ichigo immediately, even if it means Ichigo's death. This is the only way for the Soul Society to forgive Rukia for what she did by giving away her powers. However, Rukia, showing immense courage, refuses to give up Ichigo's soul. Byakuya then gives her a deadline until the full moon to return her powers and kill Ichigo. If she fails to do so, Ichigo will be killed, and Rukia will lose everything in her life. Rukia takes Ichigo to a place where she treats him with rare and special herbs. During this time, Ichigo is uncertain about what he should do to avoid the Soul Reapers and regrets the day he first encountered Rukia. As time passes and the full moon approaches, Rukia loses all hope that Ichigo will be able to complete his training and become strong enough, as he is injured and unable to move. Rukia then makes a plan to deal with her brother Byakuya and secure forgiveness from the Soul Society. She agrees with him to defeat a giant hollow named Grand, hoping that doing so will make the Soul Society forgive her for her actions. She is determined to avoid destroying Ichigo's life after causing so much trouble for him. Rukia then asks her brother to save Ichigo, but Byakuya begins to doubt her loyalty to her family, the Soul Society, and her commitment to the human Ichigo. At the same time, Renji is troubled by Rukia's affection for the human Ichigo. Ichigo then steps forward and tells Byakuya, Rukia's brother, that he will be the one to kill the giant Hollow Grand if they leave Rukia alone and don't harm her. This declaration infuriates Renji, who becomes very angry and wants to cut Ichigo's throat. Byakuya then speaks up and agrees to Ichigo's request, calming Renji and removing the idea of killing Ichigo from his mind. Byakuya accepts the agreement with Ichigo, knowing that Ichigo and the giant evil Hollow Grand are formidable opponents, and that Grand would likely kill Ichigo easily. Ichigo then begins training with Rukia, motivated by his desire to increase his strength so he can defeat the giant Hollow Grand. His goal is to free Rukia from the Soul Society's clutches and save her. The training was extremely challenging for Ichigo, but he endured it for Rukia, whose eyes had touched his heart from the moment she first beated him. Day after day, Ichigo learned new skills and grew stronger, becoming better than before. Eventually, he was ready to face the giant Hollow Grand. Ichigo and Rukia get out to find the giant Hollow. Ichigo is shocked to discover that the giant Hollow is actually the same girl he saw by the river long ago. He remembers that she was the cause of his mother's death. Driven by a desire for vengeance, Ichigo attacks the Hollow with all his strength. At that moment, the girl transforms into an enormous monster. Ichigo fights the Hollow with all his strength, and his skills are significantly improved compared to all his previous battles against monsters. However, the giant monster deceives Ichigo by transforming into the form of his mother while he is attacking with his sword. This trick causes Ichigo to hesitate and become emotionally conflicted, making it easier for the monster to manipulate and potentially kill him. The monster then returns to its original form, and Ichigo attacks it with anger. The battle escalates, reaching the city, where the monster wreaks havoc by destroying buildings and causing widespread damage while relentlessly chasing Ichigo throughout the city. The monster keeps chasing Ichigo, who struggles to defeat it without success. Eventually, the monster manages to grab Ichigo and is about to destroy him when Uryu Ishida arrives. Ishida shoots a flurry of arrows at the monster, forcing it to release Ichigo and distancing it from him. At that moment, Ichigo seizes the opportunity and tries to strike from beneath the giant monster, but he fails. The monster becomes extremely enraged, causing a massive storm to erupt. Everything around them is swept up by the storm and gets caught in the storm. Ichigo seizes the chance to hide inside a bus, but the monster grabs the bus and lifts it high into the air. However, Uryu Ishida arrives again and keeps shooting arrows at the giant monster. One of his large arrows strikes the monster, forcing it away from Ichigo and creating a momentary distraction. The monster, infuriated, crushes the bus with Ichigo inside and throws it at Uryu Ishida. Ichigo sees the opportunity and leaps out of the destroyed bus and delivers a powerful strike to the monster's head. The blow causes the monster to roar in pain and fall to the ground, ultimately allowing Ichigo to destroy it once and for all. Rukia rushes to check on Ichigo, but at that moment, her brother Byakuya appears. He decides to give Rukia one last chance to reclaim her powers from Ichigo and kill him. This is presented as her final opportunity, but Rukia, undeterred and resolute, refuses to destroy the friendship she shares with Ichigo. Byakuya then orders Renji to kill both Rukia and Ichigo, aiming to separate them permanently and ensure they never come close to each other again. Renji attacked them with all his strength and anger, and Ichigo stood in his way, fighting him to prevent him from killing Rukia. Although Renji was much stronger than them, Ichigo's true power suddenly emerged during the battle. He blocked Renji's fatal blow and countered with another strike that pushed him away and sent him crashing toward the bus. However, after Ichigo managed to fend off Renji, Renji disappeared and Byakuya appeared in his place. Byakuya beated Ichigo with a powerful blow with his sword. Despite falling, Ichigo got back up, trying to steady himself and protect both himself and Rukia from the looming threat of death. However, Byakuya was very strong and aimed his sword at Ichigo to finish him off. At the last moment, Rukia intervened and saved Ichigo from her brother's attack. But then, Rukia struck Ichigo, diminishing him and his power, and described him as an ordinary person who was of no use. She decided to take her spiritual power back from Ichigo and beated him with her sword to reclaim her strength. Despite what Rukia had done, She was wiping away her tears after all of it. She realized that she had to return to the Soul Society to prevent any disruption or chaos between humans and Soul Reapers. Later, Ichigo wakes up in his bed, and it's revealed that Rukia managed to regain her powers without harming or killing him. He finds that his injuries have completely vanished, as if nothing had happened, and he interacts with his family as usual. He goes to school, but feels a sense of emptiness and weakness after losing his spiritual powers. Ichigo returns to his normal life with his family and school, resuming his mundane existence.